Hello, everyone. This is another episode of Voices for a New Humanity. My name is Aliza Bloom Robinson, and I have a very, very special guest with me today. But before I introduce her, I want to just introduce the Voices for a New Humanity. I am having conversations with amazing people all across the globe, most of whom I call friends because I've met them in one arena or another. And we're really talking about a couple of things. We started these sort of in the midst of the pandemic, and it felt like there was something new really being birthed, like a whole new consciousness, a whole new access point to our lives and our world. And I think that's still happening, but it also feels like it's so happening. And some people, like my guest today, have been playing there for a lot longer than just a couple of months. And I would say that, well, let me just introduce her because I could give a monologue, but that's not why we have the voices, right? We have them for conversation. So my friend today is brand new doctorate, Dr. Charan Surdhar from the UK, and she is an epigeneticist. I stumble on that word a little bit, an epigeneticist. And when I first met Charan, probably in mid-fall of 2019, the thing that caught my attention was she was playing with the DNA, and she has done the research. She's got the doctorate. She's just finished her whole program. She can tell us a little bit about that too if she wants, but she's got the science behind the spiritual that I've been playing with. So it caught my attention. I've been following her and getting to know her ever since. So welcome, Charan. And would you like to say anything else in introduction?
Oh, thank you so much, Aliza. It's a real pleasure being here. Well, you know, this whole thing with the magic, the miraculous, it all comes down to combining ancient wisdom, spirituality, and science. I used to think that science was something, you know, it was either nature or nurture. And I used to have real trouble when they used to debate that in university, because I just didn't agree with either one of those. And for some reason, I felt both of those were involved. And now, you know, I know that is the case. And a lot of other scientists also know that. You know that. You know, we all feel that. So I think it's really important to grasp that actually we can change the way our DNA shows up, the way our bodies show up, the way our health shows up, just by understanding that when we combine those principles of ancient wisdom, which are with science, which are things like, you know, meditation, walking in nature. How come you feel so good when you go to the beach or when you go into the woods? Well, that's because there is this, it's like you're a tuning fork that's resonating with the tuning fork of nature. And as you begin to resonate, your DNA is like an antenna that picks up these frequencies. And so, you know, instead of like if you were to walk into a room where there's been an argument, you would pick that up.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. So it's the same, you know, getting the contrast of that and that, those two situations, you know that you are picking up stuff. And as a result, what we just don't realize is that actually the DNA is responding to that strongly. So for instance, like, you know, if you walk into a room where someone's been arguing, you'd feel it like a punch in your stomach. Mm-hmm. or heaviness in your chest, maybe.
Mm-hmm. And almost repelling, right? Yeah. Like, whoa, I don't want to go in there.
Yeah. And that's because you're picking, and so I always say it's like the DNA is always listening. And so, you know, you're going to pick up whatever you pick up. And that's where epigenetics comes in, is that we're actually influencing our DNA rather than the other way around of being a victim to our genetics.
So I've been studying the Joe Dispenza work, and that was my introduction really to more in depth of the epigenetics. And I want to just take a moment because there's still a whole lot of people in the world who think that the DNA is not changeable. But in the science of epigenetics, it's completely malleable, right?
Well, the DNA itself doesn't change, but its expression can change.
Its expression can change. That's it. Yes.
Because it's an antenna, so the same DNA can respond in a different way if you're in a room where there'd been an argument, or it can respond differently to if you were in the woods or in nature. So think of it like an antenna. And as a result, whatever it picks up, it's going to give out. So if it picks up an inflamed conversation, say, for example, in a room, it's going to give out that inflamed response in your body because you're going to be like fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go into nature, you're going to be the opposite.
So a couple of things come to my mind. In my career, 20 some years, being a New Thought minister, we say what we think about is what we get. But really, this takes it to, excuse me, what I've been saying the last maybe 10 years or so is what we feel, what we vibrate is what we get. So it's more, that's the antenna of the DNA. Am I tracking you? Mm-hmm. Am I laying my spiritual onto your science in a way that makes sense for both of us?
Yeah, exactly. So when we are in that place of that, understanding of the fact that we can be that way, that our energy can impact our body, we understand why then that ancient wisdom, spirituality, and science come together. And it all kind of just clicks into place. And that's what I really love.
And that's that magical moment. I've been using the word portal a lot. I don't know if that applies exactly to what you're talking about, but it's that still point that everything can change.
Yeah.
The other thing that was coming to my awareness when we're talking about the argument in the room versus the woods is there's so much noise in the social media, in our minds, in our brains, on our television, it's just like, oh, there's so much noise. So when we go to the woods or we go to the beach or we find that point in meditation, we disconnect that antenna from the noise. Right? This is my first time playing with DNA as antennas, so hopefully I'm tracking you and
yes.
not butchering what you're saying.
All good. It's all good.
So one of the things that you've been playing with that is your sort of your signature system about rewriting the DNA. So rewriting, how do you do that? What does that look like? Like if we could give a tip or a tool, and maybe in a few minutes we can actually give a practice. Maybe you can have us go through a short thing to actually experience that. Yeah, but before we do that, let's talk about it a little bit. What's that?
So when I say rewriting the DNA, so it's what you said earlier about, is it you said, is it the DNA we're changing or is it the expression? So we're rewriting it. I know it's kind of, but it is actually just what we just discussed about changing the way it's expressed. And what you just said about the still point is perfect, because when we combine that ancient wisdom and science and spirituality, you do come to that still point, and that still point is, it's got different names. It's the quantum field, it's the universal life force energy, it's the 0 point field, whatever you want to call it, it's that. Mm-hmm. And it's where all possibilities exist in that moment. What gets in the way of us being able to express that or to come to that is our thoughts. Mm-hmm. And our thoughts are fed by our beliefs. Mm-hmm. And so those beliefs, if we take it a little bit further, may not even be ours. They may be what we've picked up from our ancestral lineage as a result of trauma that they experienced. Mm-hmm. So it can be so many different things weaving into it. And we've got to remember we're like a morphic field. We're not just this physical body. And it's kind of, so much is interacting with us, and we're not even aware of it. And, you know, like you said, Joe Dispenza's work, he talks about this, is that the five senses, you know, we have to go beyond that.
Yeah.
And when we get to that place where he talks about the focus being narrow or open, and when we get to that open focus, it's where, if you think about it, it's like you feel one with everything. You feel, you know, and the thing is, not everyone's going to feel at one with everything all day, every moment.
Right.
But that's okay. The
Mm-hmm.
point is, can we be okay with whatever we're experiencing in the moment? Because at the minute we are, and we're not allowing those thoughts and beliefs to kind of influence us in the sense of trying to, or take over, should I say. And we remember our still point, that's where the magic then begins to unfold. And you know, Maharishi, who created the transcendental meditation movement,
Yes.
he talked about the fifth state of awareness, which was basically to be in the present moment, be in the world but not of it.
Yeah.
So that it's not just when you're meditating, it's not just when you're in the woods. You bring that with you. You bring that sense of beingness with you, with your eyes open as you look at the world. And that is where you become this, you know, infinite being who has this potential to shift everything. And you're experiencing everything.
Mm-hmm.
I heard recently someone say, presence isn't just being present to what you're feeling here. It's actually a multi-dimensional way of being, and I love that.
Oh, I love that too. The one of the ways that I would phrase sort of what you're talking about is that it's like when you're present to what is, when you're present, but when you're just okay, like there's so, you drop all the resistance. It's like you drop all the static, right? Which is the resistance to what is, because so much of our suffering comes from our pushing it away or fighting it or arguing it or whatever it is, whether it's a physical experience or a thought or an emotion or an outer world thing. It doesn't even matter, right? It's like, so bringing that back around to the antenna, fine tune that antenna, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
Would you be willing to give us a couple of minutes to just experience of a sample of what you do and how you do it in
Yeah.
rewriting a DNA?
So let's say, for instance, could we use you as an sort of?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if you have if everyone who's listening can just follow along with this. So if you have something that you feel that's kind of bothering you, maybe could be emotional, could be physical.
Okay, I got something.
Okay. So on a scale of 0 to 10, where would you say it's at? 10 being the highest.
It's probably a 6. So it's not huge, but it's a 6. I can get it as 6. I can feel it.
Okay.
For
So,
practice, right?
so my question is, where do you feel it in the body?
Oh, lower back, above the sacrum, so not way low back, but lower back, and then also like behind my jaw, like back in here.
Okay. So all I would ask you to do is just feel it. Feel how you feel about it. Just notice where you feel it in your body. All the sensations here, the low back. Just as you're just being present to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was to ask you to find your center point, just notice where it is. And you know, the center point for everyone can be different, and every time you do it, it can be different as well. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So just notice that center point. and just bring your awareness into it. And take that center point and connect it to the source of the universe, source of everything. Just feel yourself plugged in.
Okay.
Really feel that in that place. And then allow that frequency to, or invite it to actually allow you to be immersed in it. So every cell in your body, and in the lower back, behind the ears, and the jaw. And just take your time with that. It's like you're just immersing yourself in this field. So maybe you might get some thoughts like, oh, I want this to go away. Like, the back thing, or just notice it and invite that thought to come into this center point. And every cell in the body, and then it goes even beyond. And you can stay there as long as you like. And then when you open your eyes, you bring that awareness with you. Like, so if you were to see with that center point, and then you look at an object and you see with that center point, another object, and you see from that center point. So you notice that there's no judgments, there's just a sense of joy, this sense of aliveness. And that's using your
stillness. Like
yeah.
stillness is not engaged, it's an engaged stillness.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And that is that fifth state of awareness that we can bring into our life.
Awesome.
And that's what the PhD was about, to help people bring them to that state.
And then live there.
Yeah.
Or if not live there, remember to return here again and again and again.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're always going to be thrown off,
Part of being human, I think, on the planet, right?
Yeah, it's that duality. But our job is really to bring that neutrality. As we come to this place, we're neutral. And so how things then play out begin to shift as well, as a result of how we show up.
Yeah, it's so brilliant. And it's so brilliant in its simplicity, in its simple, like anybody can access this point, especially with some guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Well, we are at our time, but I so appreciate you spending this time with me. And if you want to know more about Charan, we've got her links. And can we include the link to your Rewrite Your DNA? I should have asked you this before.
Well, I'll give you the link to that where they can go get it.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, we'll put that in the description. Yeah, wonderful. And I so appreciate you being here and being a part of the new and bringing your brilliant work to the world.
Thank
Thank
you, Aliza. Thank you. That was
you.
fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.